Hello everybody, today I'm here to do another book review for you, and that book is going to be Landline by Rowell. And wow, I love this one just as much as I loved other Rowells. Well, not as much, but I still loved it. Anyway, let's talk about Landline. If you're unfamiliar with Landline and unfamiliar with Rowell has written 2 young adult novels, her first being Eleanor Park and her second being Fangirl, both of which I love. And she's also wrote an adult novel, which is all the way over there, so I don't want to reach for it, and that is Attachments, which I also love. This is Rowell's second adult novel, and it's called Landline. It's all about this girl named Georgie McCool, which isn't that such a cool name? Georgie McCool. Like, it sounds like a TV show character's name. Anyway, it's about Georgie McCool and her marriage and how it's not so much of a great marriage or struggles and stuff like that. The whole premise about the book, this is not spoiling anything, it does take place in Christmas time. Keep that in mind. I did not know that. Right before they're supposed to go to her mother-in-law's house in a different state, Georgie gets an opportunity for her job, a really, really big opportunity. She's like a TV show writer, and has this opportunity to write their own pilot for a show, the show they've always dreamed of, and she learns that she can't go to her mother-in-law's with her husband and her 2 kids, and her husband's really upset, and he decides to take the kids anyway to her mom's, and it's all about that. And Georgie goes to her mom's a lot and goes to use the landline, and magically when she calls her husband, she's talking to her husband 15 or something years ago. I think it's 15 years ago, but either way, it's really set in the past. So in short, I will say I did love this novel. Now, I can understand why a lot of people won't like it because it's not a sad one, but I think it's just kind of a real life kind of book. Like, it's about a marriage. It's about a struggling marriage. And while reading it, sometimes I was pro Georgie, like on her side of the whole debacle, and then sometimes I was like pro Neil, the husband. And you know, it's stuff like that, you know, marriages and stuff like that. So I will say, you know, I think you could still read, if you're not married, it's still a great, not a representation of marriage. I wouldn't say all marriages are like this, nothing like that, but each marriage goes through struggles, honestly, and that's what marriages are, you know? They're full of struggles, just like life is full of struggles. So I did really enjoy that, and I love the writing in this book. Gosh, Rowell can suck me in and like make me stay there until I finish this book. I finished this book in one day. It takes a lot for me to finish a book in one day. Well, contemporaries I'm pretty good at because somehow I can just fly through contemporaries like nobody's business. Like, don't even talk to me for like 5 hours until I finish the book. That's how I am. So I flew through this one because Rowell just really pulls you into this marriage and makes you want to stay to figure out how it's going to work out, figure out if it's going to work out, and all that kind of stuff. So props to Rowell for being such an amazing author. Like, she just pulls me in and grabs me and makes me sit there and read until I finish this book. And that's exactly what I did for this one. So if I could give it a rating, if I'm being completely honest, I would give it 5 out of 5. I'm thinking a 4 out of 5, but just for the duration that I was so involved in this story. I was so, like, trying to figure out what was going to happen. I was so emotionally connected to these characters that I just really loved it. And I'm not saying I emotionally connected like I understand it and everything like that, because I think each marriage is different. My marriage is very different from this book. But like, I get the notion of marriages, if that makes any sense. I get the notion of relationships because that's my job. I'm a wedding photographer, so I see relationships all the time. So like my rating of 5 out of 5 because that's really how I feel. Like, I think it deserves a 5 out of 5 for me because I was just so in love with this book. Anyway, so that's going to be the no spoiler talk. I'm going to talk a little bit about spoilers. So if you haven't read this book, I would say definitely pick it up. It's worth your time, I think. Like, Rowell can really knock it out of the park. She hasn't missed a beat for me yet. I love all of her books. I think you should read it. Yeah, it's Rowell. Read it. Read it. Talk about Georgie. Now, Georgie, I really felt like I could connect with some ways and some ways not. Georgie is all about, you know, her career. She's a TV writer, a sitcom writer, if I'm pronouncing that right, hopefully. If I'm saying that's the right job. You know, she's so emotionally and 100% invested in her job. And I get that. It's a career. It's, you know, it's your life and stuff like that. But there were some instances where I thought Georgie was not making the right decision with that. Like, I understand it's her dream to get this pilot. I understand, like, that's all she's worked for so long, but it's Christmas time. She's got 2 kids. She's got a husband. She has a mother-in-law who lost her husband not too long ago. Like, I really felt like she should have went to the to be with her family. If not, then honestly, if it was me, I would have went, or I would have said, give me 2 days and I will be there. Like, you know, I will be there on Christmas Eve, no matter what, I will be there. Because that's the type of person I am. I'm a career person, but I think when it comes to family, I think that's very, very, very important to be there for your family, because at the end of the day, you can't have a career, but you're going to have your family for life. And that's not going to change, you know, that's your family, those are your kids. So, you know, that's when I felt like I couldn't connect with Georgie a little bit, because I was like, I wouldn't make the same decision as her as she did in the book. Like, she decided to stay back and stuff like that. And then I'm like, I do understand a little bit, because I am a workaholic. I am a career junkie, you know, understand Georgie for that, but then I don't understand her. So I like Georgie, but then I just didn't like some of the decisions that she made. Now let's talk about Neil. Neil is a very controversial character. I think a lot of people are going to not like Neil. A lot of the times while reading this, I didn't like Neil, because Neil's just kind of a weird, mean guy. Like, some attributes of Neil that I really like Neil, you know, when Georgie was pregnant and she was like, I don't want to put my kid in daycare, what am I going to do? Neil's like, I'm just going to quit my job, because, you know, I'm not doing what I love, and, you know, I want to be there. I want to raise my kids. And I really was like, that's an awesome dad. He's not even a dad yet, and he's being awesome. And I thought that was an amazing decision. It's a big decision, you know, to like leave your job and to raise your children. That's a huge lifestyle change. So I really applauded Neil for that. Neil is a great family man. He's always there for his kids, and no matter what, he is always there for Georgie. He's always, you know, making her dinner, even though he's not doing it in the right pretense. Like, he's not, you know, happy to make it. He's like, oh, here, you know, I want to make dinner for you to show you I'm still a good husband. So Neil was kind of like I liked Neil sometimes, and I was like, Neil, no. And then I was like, I understand Neil, but then I was like, no, Neil, you're kind of mean. You're kind of a jerk. But then again, love really doesn't know stuff like that. You can't, I don't think you can pick who you fall in love with. You just fall in love with the person that you're meant to fall in love with. At least that's my strategy. I'm just a hopeless romantic, you know. I just think that, you know, you're meant for that one person, and that's just me. You know, it's stuff like that. Like, I can't envision my life without my husband. I honestly can't. I truly cannot imagine my life at all without him. And, you know, I think Georgie felt that way in this book, and I felt like Neil did too, but Neil's just not very upfront about it. He doesn't talk about it, you know. But Georgie, you know, I think this whole book is her learning that, you know, that it's about love, and about, like, you know, choosing love over career or something. It's stuff like that, if that makes any kind of sense. It's not like quintessential what this book is about, like career or love. It's more about, like, you know, like can you choose who you fall in love with, or just, you know, just does love happen the way it's supposed to happen? And the whole thing with the talking in the past, I really love that aspect, even though we don't go into much detail of like why that happened and stuff like that. I just thought it was a cool part of the book, honestly. Like, the whole gist of it, I really like that. I really felt that was really important for Georgie to do that, to feel like, you know, to fall in love with Neil again, to realize that she wants this, to realize that she wants the family over the career sometimes, and stuff like that. Now, let's talk about Seth. Seth is her best friend. He's like her BFF since college. They've been like this together. They're writing partners, they're everything partners. And, you know, I did like Seth. I could see that something was bubbling up. I'm like, it's going to come to a point where Seth's going to be like, crap, I think I've loved Georgie forever. And, you know, stuff like that. And it finally came to that. And I was like, and I thought for a second, I'm like, oh crap, is this how it's going to be? Like, Georgie's going to leave Neil for Seth? I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be awkward. Which I could understand, because Seth and Georgie really connect. Like, they're very, very similar. But sometimes marriages are not like similar people. I think you need a little bit of difference in them. Like, I feel like that. I feel like with Georgie and Seth, they're just too similar. They've known each other so long. And, you know, if Seth, and the whole point was brought up how Seth, you know, what if that one night when I walked you home from that party and I didn't just leave? What would happen? And you have to think about that. What would happen? But guess what? That's what didn't happen, you know? It did not happen. And things progressed the way I think they were supposed to progress. So as much as I didn't like Neil, I was like, no, don't take Georgie. That's Georgie is Neil's. So I did like Seth as a character. I think he's an awesome character. I was just like, you're a little bit too late, buddy. You're like 20 years too late, buddy. I loved her kids too. Her kids are super cute. I love that. I loved her mother was just kind of odd, I thought. You know, she's been through so many marriages, you know, all that kind of stuff. And her sister was really cool. Her name was Heather. I really liked her sister a lot. And I loved all the supporting characters in this. I loved the ending of the book too, when Georgie came to her senses and realized, holy crap, I gotta go see my family. I was like, yeah, you should have been there like 5 days ago. What are you doing? But then when she finally got there, you know, her and Neil talked. She's like, I know I have a lot of things to work on. I know this isn't perfect. I know this is far from perfect. I know you have a lot of things to work on. And it was just kind of brought like that. And he was like, yeah, you're right. And you know what? That's how it is with marriages. You have to work on it constantly. You know, it's never just going to be okay. You know, it's just, that's how marriage is. It's a struggle. That's how it's supposed to be, I think. You know, a struggle, and it's supposed to be amazing and awesome and wonderful in marriages, all those things. Ending of it, because I thought it was real. I thought it was like a good closure of like, you know what, we're going to do this. We're going to do it, and we're going to work on it, and we're going to try our best. And I really like that, because I think that they couldn't have a great marriage if both of them learn, you know, compromise. They both learned how to, you know, love unconditionally and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like I said, this is a long review because I can talk about this book forever. So if you've read Landline, please let's talk about in the comments. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you like it? Did you love Neil? Did you hate Neil? You probably hated Neil. I'm like ugh, about Neil. And that is all for me, guys. Sorry for the long review. Bye.